Welcome to my channel where we cover the lore of video games. We cover all kinds from the mainstream to the indie, so I hope you enjoy your stay, and welcome to the Chronicler of Lore. After a bit of negotiation between Varshan and the leaders of Garlemald, they finally come to a trade agreement that everyone agrees to. And because of that, they give the Warrior of Light and her friends what they want, and that's access to the Tower of Babel. That access couldn't have come at a better time since your ether tanks are almost there. Once the tower is full of ether, all that'll be left is to wait for Y'shtola's signal. Since she hasn't sent any word on her progress, Varshan figures that she might need some help. So since you're done on your end, you might as well head to the moon. Y'shtola did tell Urianger to let Varshan know that she thinks what his sister will need once you all make it back to the Void is her brother, not his vessel, but Vritra in his full Great Worm form. The portal will be big enough, so he thinks that's a good idea, and since he can fly through outer space with no problem, he'll meet you all on the moon. He leaves to go put his eye back into his real body and start the trip to the moon, but not before he gives Ashdaia's eye to you. He wants you to keep it until you save his sister. You all head off, leaving the twins to activate the tower when Y'shtola gives the signal. When you get there, Y'shtola and her team, which includes Nidana and Estinian, are happy for the extra help since she still has some work to get done. The Watchers helped her get her portal opening ritual set up, and now she needs the ether from the tower to hopefully open the portal. Her group had to use all of their considerable knowledge, but they also managed to figure out how to contain any void scent that comes through the soon-to-be open massive void gate. It was pretty easy to come up with once they thought about it. The moon had a machine that was able to hold Zodiark, so once you fix what Fandaniel broke, it'll be the perfect void scent blockade. The Watcher's already working on fixing the things, so if you all help, it'll go faster. Y'shtola's positive that the barrier will stop all of the big critters that come through. The small ones might be able to squeeze through the barrier though, so she wants the Loporus to handle that. She wants you to go and talk to them, and Zero wants to come too, probably because everyone likes the moon bunnies and she wants to see why. Y'shtola's already told Livingway that she wants some of their best combat machines, so the other moon bunnies are already gathering them all up. The things look impressive, but they've never fought Void Scent before. Fortunately, you have your own personal Void Scent who is perfectly fine with testing the machines. Half of them run away when she powers up. The rest get beaten with absolutely no effort. The Loporus don't feel bad about that. Now that they've seen a Void Scent in action, they can make some machines that can do some damage, and they can do it pretty fast. Once they set off to get those upgrades started, Y'shtola calls to let you know that they've gotten everything ready, which means it's almost time to open the portal. Y'shtola gives a call to the twins and they activate the tower, sending over all of the ether. It's a lot of ether, but once it's there, Y'shtola does her job and tears open the biggest void gate ever made. Void Scent immediately try to come through, but the barrier does indeed keep them from passing out of the pit. Vritra finally arrives and he's even impressed with the size of the gate. Y'shtola, being the science-minded cat girl that she is, has been thinking that there has to be something about the source that makes opening portals to the shards possible that the other shards don't have, because they've never tried to merge with each other. She thinks the source is always pulling on the shards because it wants to draw them in, which means the Void isn't the only shard that she'll be able to open portals to in the future. That's also why she thinks Hydaelyn was made with the power of light. Light stops things from changing, so her power stopped the source from drawing in the other shards. But since darkness fills the void and it counters Hydaelyn's powers, sometimes bits and pieces of it would break through to the source, making planar fissures. She focused all of the ether you gathered in the direction of the void to help create a really big gate, but she can't use the same technique to open a path to any other shards, so for now we still won't see her getting back to the first to be reunited with her cat daddy boyfriend. None of that is important right now. What is important is dealing with Golbez and saving Ashdaia, so you all hop on the Vritra's back and fly through the gate. The moon of the void looks way more dead and red than the one from the source, and there's not a void scent to be seen, which doesn't surprise Zero, since Golbez didn't let many people know where his domain was, let alone hang out there. Vritra can't sense his sister, so you all spread out and start looking for her. The only place that looks even remotely interesting is the hole where Zodiark was locked up. Somebody's built something down there, so it's probably the best place to look. The place used to hold a fragment of Zodiark, but when you beat him on the source, Y'shtola figured that every fragment of the primal would have disappeared. But she can sense some of his power coming from the hole, which is not a good thing. It's probably not a good idea to go flying into the hole either, but Vritra senses his sister from inside, so you all head down. Sure enough, you find Ashdaya trapped in a prison. She's out cold, but when you give her back her missing eye, she wakes up and is very surprised to see her brother there. Unfortunately, going back home with him won't be easy since not even a dragon can break the prison that Golbez locked her in. She's been locked up for a while, but she doesn't realize just how much time has passed until she notices her brother is traveling around with mortals, which is more than a little odd for her kind. At least it was the last time she saw him. When she first came to the Void, she was weak after fighting so many Void Scent, and it wouldn't have taken long for her to turn into one, but Golbez told her that he could stop that from happening. He did, but the price was locking her up and letting his people drain her ether forever. The only way to break the prison is to beat Golbez. She knows more about him than you do, obviously, and she's happy to share the info. For starters, he can't go too far from his domain, otherwise he wouldn't be able to sustain her prison. That's why he usually sends his minions out to do jobs for him, but every now and then he'll head to the surface of the moon and go to a very specific place to the south. Ashdaya doesn't know why, but she figures there's something there that's important to him, which means it's worth you all checking out, and since you can't free Ashdaya yet anyway, you all head off to see what you can find. You actually do find something important, a Memoria crystal, and when you hold it, the echo that you still don't know how to control takes over, and you see through the eyes of a man and his friend named Durant as they kill some corrupted Memoriates. They're on a quest to end the Contra Memoria and save the world, and it turns out that they just so happen to be the same two people who Zero had told you about. You see the moment where she turned down their offer to join them, which was in fact genuine, but they didn't blame her for not trusting them since their world does kinda suck. They had got a summons from their king anyway, so they headed off to Baron. When the vision ends and you tell Zero that the memory had her in it, she figures that the person in the crystal was one of the men she had met, but before she could think about which one it might be, Golbez shows up, and he brought Ashdaya. When Zero sees him, she realizes that he's wearing the same armor as one of the men she'd met that day. He's impressed that she managed to keep her form and her memories for this long, and since she's a Memoriate, he wants her to join him. She's not all that willing to be that man's servant, especially now that she knows what it feels like to fight with actual friends watching her back. Golbez isn't exactly surprised or disappointed by her answer since she doesn't matter all that much as far as his plans go. He knows you all came to save the dragon, and when you had first showed up, he'd planned on killing you right away. He's glad that he didn't since you ended up helping him in the long run by tearing open a very large void gate on the moon and giving Ashdaya hope that he could feed on. Now he can kill you all, and he gets started on that by letting Ashdaya out of his prison. She's instantly consumed by darkness and turned into a dragon void scent that attacks Vritra. He summons a lot of other void scent to deal with the Scions, and since he can tell that the two strongest people there are the dragon and the warrior of light, he goes to fight you himself on an arena that he lifts into the sky. Using your extremely useful summon allies from anywhere jutsu, the warrior of light brings in a group of warriors to help her take down the very large Golbez and his shadow dragon. As far as trials go, this one did a good job of becoming my favorite one in this expansion, because Golbez is not a slouch at all. That still doesn't stop him from getting wrecked and shrinking back down to the size of a normal 8 feet tall man. But you winning the fight didn't come fast enough, because Golbez had already set his plans into motion. In the past, there had been a lot of ether in the crater on the moon until it scattered all around the void. But like everything else on the shard, it couldn't pass on to the ethereal sea, so it slowly merged into a super powerful void scent that's been getting ready to wake up. Now that it has, Golbez throws Ashdaya to it. It absorbs the dragon and bursts out of the pit, having enough power to break through the barrier between the void and the source, so it can free the void scent from their prison of immortality. Since the thing will be the savior of their world, Golbez names it after a hero from ancient times, Zeromus. A monster made from the fusion of a shard of Zodiark and a great worm is nothing to laugh at, and it proves that when Zero tries to use her power to crystallize it, and he yeets her across the moon. Zeromus is letting off so much ether that the warding scales won't be able to protect you for much longer, so you all hop on the Vritra's back and do the only thing that you can, and that's flee for your lives. The fact that Golbez was able to use Ashdaya's hope as a power source to create a super void scent was not something that Y'shtola had predicted, but now you all have something that is way worse to deal with. But you can't deal with it without a plan, so you all get ready to head back to Razad Han after you go tell Urianger what happened. While it's pretty bad, Urianger points out that since your barrier around the Void Gate is made out of Zodiark's prison, it's more than strong enough to keep Zeromus from breaking through it, at least for a while. There's no way to know if the shield you made is as strong as Heidelin's original one, and you don't know how strong Zeromus is since he did eat a Great Worm and is made directly from a shard of Zodiark. Urianger will keep watch on it while you head back to Razat Han to plan your next move. Losing Azhdaya has really done a number on everyone, but Zero points out that even though she got eaten, when a Void Sin is consumed, it doesn't die, and if you kill Zeromus, Azhdaya can reform and be her old self again. She'll need something to help remind her of who she was, so Zero tells Vritra to stop moping around and get ready to call his sister once you all beat the Super Void Sin. It'll be a little bit harder than just walking up and poking the thing a few times. Estinian thinks it'll be a better idea to just let Zeromus come to the source where it'll have less dark ether to draw on, and you can kill it for good. The only problem with that is that will kill Azhdaya too, so the only way to save her is to beat Zeromus on the Void. Considering how easy it was for him to smack Zero, that may not be all that simple, but Istola, being who she is, has already figured out a way to weaken the thing. Since it has a world full of darkness to draw on, you'll need a world full of light to counter it, and you just so happen to know a place that's full of it, the First. She doesn't know how to harness that either, but she's pretty sure she can figure it out. In the meantime, Estinian is going to head off and do some training, and Zero decides to join him, and I'm sure the fact that he works out shirtless only has a little bit to do with her decision. This concludes the story of the Dark Throne. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Donate if you can, and I'll see you all next time.